Love does not boast. Love, after all, matters the most. Love does not run. Love does not hide. Love does not keep locked inside. Love is the river that flows through. Love never fails you. Love will sustain. Love will provide. Love will not cease at the end of time. Love will protect. Love always hopes. Love still believes when you don't. Love is the arms that are holding you. Love never fails you. When my heart won't make a sound, when I can't turn back around, when the sky is falling down, nothing is greater than this. Greater than this, love is right here. Love is alive. Love is the way, the truth, the life. Love is the river that flows through. Love is the arms that are holding you. Love is the place you will fly to. Love never fails you. I always begin with a good afternoon or a good morning or a good whatever, because if we don't stop and realize that it's good and great that we gather together during the awesome times in life, as well as some of the times that are a little bit more difficult to our hearts, then all of this is just a pretty show that doesn't really mean anything. It's just something you do to go through the motions, but it doesn't mean anything. But I think those of you in this room, as I've walked around and I've heard the stories you were telling, I've watched the smiles that came across your face. I've watched the tears that came down your cheeks as well. Somebody once said, tears is simply love in motion. And in that respect, it's not just a good afternoon. It's a great afternoon, because you all know better than that. You all know the importance of what we do today and every day. And I'd like to welcome so many people across this vast place we call Earth. From Puerto Rico to Ireland, I know we have people all over watching who are certainly with us in spirit. I know the family greatly appreciates your love, and I would encourage you to let everybody know that if they weren't able to be with us at this moment, it takes about a week to get all the footage back, but today's services will be recorded. They're put together in a beautiful tribute video to Jim, and then that will be up on his website in perpetuity. It takes about a week to get all that done, in addition to those of you who are watching didn't get a chance to see, but all of you, all the beautiful photos that you've seen playing throughout the funeral home, that will be up on Jim's website in perpetuity as well. And for a mere $5, if there's a photo in there of one of you that you don't like, I will take it down. I make a lot of money that way. But there's a lot of beautiful memories, and we encourage you to go back there often and to continue to think about what makes Jim Jim and how he still lives on through you. So we're going to do a couple things today. And again, for those I haven't met who are watching, my name is DJ Wright, and on behalf of my family and our care team, our thoughts and prayers are certainly with all of you. I did not know Jim. I'm going to put that out there first and foremost, because I could never sit in the back and listen to somebody get up there and preach like they were the person's best friend when they never met them. However, I will say I've been fortunate over the last week to, I think, get a pretty good portrait, painting, whatever you want to call it, of the man, the myth, the legend, but the guy who touched hearts. So when I speak about him today, I speak in hearing about him from the love of his other half, his children, his granddaughter, his siblings, his nieces and nephews. The stories I've heard have kind of woven that beautiful tapestry. So that's where I'm going to speak from today. And then just so you know, we're going to open it up. And I remind everybody, this is a room of love. You can't say anything wrong. So please, just know in a little bit, we're going to have a podium up here. And if you want to come speak from your heart, you certainly can. No pressure. But if Jim touched your heart in a certain way that you just want to share with everybody for a moment or two, please know that you'll have that opportunity in a few moments. And then we are going to bring a TV up here. Something I don't always do, but when Marguerite asks, you don't say no. That's a compliment. She's got her dad's strength and resilience. But we're going to do something, I think, fun at the end. So does everybody have their little 8-page booklets with them? Yeah. Good. Just make sure you have those handy. I will get you one. I will get you. I know you do. You're going to be the future funeral director, so you're good.
What do you mean?
You're going to take the place over when I get gray. Well, I'm already gray, but...
I want to be a lawyer.
Do that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So everybody, we're going to do something, though, to begin our time that is going to hopefully swell you all up with a sense of pride. Bring a tear to your eye when you think about all those who've gone before. Behind me, with all this stuff, there's something that sticks out. And that's the flag of the United States of America. People don't understand, and it saddens me when they just hear, oh, freedom isn't free. People say that, right? But they don't really get what that means. I have colleagues all over the world. I have some very good friends in Ireland, down in the Cork area, who have funeral homes. I have friends in the Middle East. I have friends in Japan, China. Like, you don't get the fact that you're sitting here right now and you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to worry about somebody throwing a grenade in the middle of this room. You don't have to worry about a sniper trying to pick one of you off. And the reason you don't have to worry about that is because of the men and women of the United States Armed Services. My colleagues, they do. Their staff has been killed. Members of families have been killed in front of them. Like, that's a real thing. And I say that because sometimes we need the harsh reality reminders of what these men and women do. Many of you know Jim was a medic. A long-time EMT myself, I kind of feel him and I are kindred spirits that way. But a medic in the Army is not an easy thing. And so we're going to do something in a moment besides giving him his just military honors. But we're going to close our eyes in a moment and we're going to say a prayer. And not for the men and women who've gone before, because I trust you can do that, but rather for the men and women and their families right now who are serving all throughout the world so we can be here in freedom and peace. Then after that prayer, members of the United States Army are going to come forward. They are going to play taps, fold the flag, and then that will be presented to you. During the presentation or during the playing of taps, if you are able to, I would ask you, with the exception of you in the front row, everybody else, if you're able to stand, please do. And if you're a former military, you're welcome to salute. Everybody else, I would just ask that you place your hands over your heart during the playing of taps. After taps has concluded, please be seated. I also, and he gets mad at me for saying this, but we have a gentleman here who gives his time and talent from buglers across America who believe, these men and women believe that every honorably discharged veteran should have taps played live at their funeral, not a recording, which is normally done. And we are lucky that John, he doesn't live close, but he always, whenever we put out the request, he's always one of the first people to jump up, and we appreciate him and all of his colleagues for giving up their time to make an hour drive here to play taps for you. So please, when you see these people, don't be afraid to go up and say thank you. We need a little more of that in this world. And I don't always say that first, but I know Jim well enough that he would want me to say thank you to you gentlemen in the back for your service. And John, thank you for doing what you do, from Jim. I'm going to ask you now to take a deep breath, to close your eyes, and let us have a moment of silent prayer for all those men and women around the world serving so that we can be here in freedom and peace to celebrate the life of our brother, James.
On behalf of the President of the United States, United States Army, and the grateful nation, please accept this flag as a symbol of appreciation for your most honorable and faithful service.
Again, a special thank you to the United States Army and buglers across America for their presence here today. I ask for your patience for just a moment while we reset everything. We'll be starting momentarily. I'm going to ask you all again to take a deep breath, to close your eyes. I want you to picture Jim smiling. I want you to feel him giving you a big hug. I want you to hear his laughter. And let us pray together. Good and gracious God, who we know by many names and many images, Spirit of life and Spirit of death, you who art as present to us in our suffering as in our well-being, Heavenly Father, abide with us now in this permeable time between the dusk and the dark. Heavenly Father, soothe the pains that we carry in our heart. Bless us with the courage in this moment and always to move towards our grief and not away from it. When all is hidden, when we find ourselves moving among the shadows, Father, when we do not know the way, help to quiet our hearts and to still our restlessness. Help us to embrace the unknown, to hold the mystery and to let ourselves be held by it. Abide with us now, O Spirit of compassion, as the power of healing, the assurance of peace, and the love that will not let us go. Let us say, Amen. As I heard about Jim's life, a lot of things became apparent very quickly. One was that he liked to wear crazy hats on his head.
Yes.
The other, though, was that he seemed to live his life grounded by a sense of love, respect, and compassion. So, the scripture reading I chose today is one that I guarantee you have all heard before. Almost guaranteed. But I'm betting most of you have never heard it at a funeral. You've probably heard it at a wedding. My feeling is, if you can hear it at a wedding, you can hear it at a funeral. Some would argue they're the same thing. Laugh? No? But they come from the same good book. So let us hear these words from Corinthians. If I speak in the tongue of men and of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy, and if I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and surrender my body to the flames, but do not have love, I still am nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It's not proud. It's not rude. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. I started out by saying I did not know Jim. But I do know who Jim is. Because it became very obvious to me almost instantly about which the passion you spoke about him when you first called me. He wasn't a stepdad. He was dad in so many ways. And then I got to you two. And it was genuine love that flowed. Is life perfect? Of course not. I'm not going to stand here and say that it is. But the relationship that you two have, that I witnessed, Jim helped make that happen. He was that connectivity that, again, in many ways, there's no step here either. And that's a beautiful thing, because it's based on mutual respect, mutual compassion, genuine and pure love. And as I heard about Jim's upbringing, as I heard about his work, and we say hello to all his former work colleagues. I know we have a lot of them, and your flowers were quite beautiful. The family got a chance to see them, and I know they send their thanks. But in everything he did, there was this grounding factor. There was this thing that made Jim Jim. Was he perfect? No. Did he try? Yes. Is that all God asks of any of us, to try? Yes. But I think Jim figured out real quick from a young boy that if you don't have faith, if you don't have hope, and you don't ground everything you do in trying to love, then what is all this really for? What is all this about? So my hope and my prayer for all of you is, if you want to honor Jim the way I've heard you all say you do, it's not about anything other than using your God-given talents, because that's why he loved all of you, for you. It wasn't about trying to be somebody else. It's about being you. But if you want to honor Jim, take who you are and focus a little bit more on living your life grounded in love and reality. Those two things are a pretty special force. And no matter what happens in your life, good, bad, if you find a reason each day to let love guide you, you honor Jim. You honor who he was. You honor who he is. And more importantly, you honor who he will always continue to be through each of us, myself included. Because you see, I didn't know him, but he has touched me through you. See, we make life a whole lot harder than it has to be. Faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Again, as I said, we're going to have some people sharing from their hearts today. I have some letters from some of you who I know are watching, which we'll do that in a few moments. But I'm going to ask his daughter, Marguerite, to come forward and share with us some thoughts about her dad. Remember, all love right here.
Okay.
You're good. Right there. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you all for being here, especially on Mother's Day weekend. I know that makes things a little bit more complicated for traveling and stuff. I just really appreciate the love and support that we've gotten so far. And you guys at home, we feel you here too, so thank you. We've also got people here who traveled from London to San Francisco and everything in between, which is great. This has been a really surreal time for me. Like, sometimes I've been having these like out of body kind of experiences, and it's just so weird, and I just want to tell my dad like how crazy that is, and then he's just not there, so it just makes it even stranger, because like, oh, thank you, because he and I were besties my whole life. And we spent so much time laughing and singing together, and like when we were in the car, like on our way to school, or like when we would drive to Miami for Christmas to see you. And we'd take turns driving, and one of us would be the driver, you know, and the other person would be the navigator, because this was before cell phones. And you know how in the obituary it said that, you know, love was Dad's North Star? Well, he was my North Star for, you know, how to, like, he was just my example of how to be a compassionate, loving, and good person. So, thank you. I know I'm not the only one who feels like that. My cousins have often said that he's an angel on earth. Well, I guess I need to use the past tense, which is weird. So, and that there should be more Jim McQuires. Mm-hmm. He's, you know, a real beacon of light and hope, just like he was saying. And he loved really hard, like a warrior, the love warrior, like his song. And, well, I just feel really blessed that I had such an amazing dad. I guess I have an amazing dad. Yeah. So there are, you know, countless examples that I could draw from, but, you know, maybe something that you don't know is that, like, how as a kid I had a cast on a lot of the time, and he would help me get around from place to place, and he would try and make it kind of fun, and he would call himself La Grua, or Jimmy the Crane. And so, and he would like scoop me up. He'd like put his arms under me and my body cast, or whatever kind of cast it was, and he'd lift me up and he'd transport me over to the bed or the toilet or whatever it was. And, you know, that was just Jimmy the Crane, although now that I'm thinking about it, this is more like a forklift than a crane, but we'll let him have that one. And anyway, I just always felt safe in his arms. And yeah, I'm really going to miss his big bear hugs and love and support, like I know a lot of you will too. And yeah, I think that's it.
As I've told you, I think almost every day since I've met you, you honor him by how you live. If you're going to do that, that's a great start. You are your dad's little girl. I want to share for Mike O'Donohue. We are all thinking of you today on this sad occasion. Such a kind and gentle soul. May he rest in peace. Love, Mike, Liz, Bella, and Jen. This is from Mags and Connie in Ireland to Hannah and family. Mags and I cannot be with you in person today to celebrate the life of a true gentleman. So I just wanted these few words read out in honor of the occasion. Jim will forever be remembered in our home in Cork. A true gentleman of the South, but also a native New Yorker and New Jersey man in later years. He was wonderful company, fun, and entertainment when he was in the room. Great memories of our times in Atlanta, Tennessee, and New York, especially when we dined at Sparks for one night only. We dined with the mafia. Also, great memories of 3 infamous Donegal weddings, where fun was the main theme, and especially the Irish chorus version of Living Next Door to Alice. I was forever in awe of anyone who lived in a tree and associated him in my mind with the wonderful music of the 60s and the whole Summer of Love movement. May his sweet, gentle soul rest in peace, gone but definitely not forgotten. With love, Mags and Connie in Ireland. I mentioned before, if anybody would like to come forward, I wanted to give you that opportunity. I would ask that you come here. Just speak a little louder than normal. The room was designed to bounce your voice. Just let everybody know who you are, how you're related or new, Jim, and speak right from the heart.
Well, good evening. Whew. My name is Christ McQuire, and I am the nephew of Jim. I'll get to my tears. I wanted to divide it up in 2 ways. The memories he left for me that were impactful in my life, and the person that he is. I knew Jim Uncle Jim since I was born, and the first thing I remember him was a guitar, and his singing, and it was one of those things that I see it here, and I could hear the tunes, and when I grew up in Puerto Rico, Uncle Jim had this humongous big Bonneville convertible, green, and what would end up happening is, they'd either play tennis or golf. So I'd sit in the back seat, and Uncle Jim would bring his tennis racket, if we're going to play tennis, or bags in the back, and he would play his guitar as my dad drove to Fort Buchanan, where they would allow my dad in. Dad was Air Force, but he lost his credibility, because if your dad, it was an Army base, they said, no, you come in, play, and go ahead and play tennis. So my dad was abusing you. Your dad. So anyway. Also, I remember very much every Semana Santa, Easter. So I know many people don't realize, but Uncle Jim put the ceremony together for the procession of Jesus Christ walking down an avenue that's closed by the police. And I was Jesus for several years before I grew a little bit. But the biggest thing was that, and he says, we need to have a true mule. Yeah. So we got Maruca. Yeah. Maruca the mule. And we put this mule that was probably 20 miles away in the back of a 66 Camino. And we'd tie it down, and we'd bring it the day before. And my responsibility was to sit in the back and hold on to the reins, as make sure that the donkey didn't go away. And I remember this going for for 3 years in a row. And my mom once said, but don't you find that a little bit dangerous, Jim, that you have Kurt in the back? And so then that ended right away because of the fact that she got mad at my dad for letting me be in the back. And so then it came in a trailer from that point on. So those are very impactful things. Another thing is that Uncle Jim had a cooking show. And I'd see the tapes. And I'd say, like, my dad would say, my father never cooked. And my mom always said, can't you be a little bit more like Jim? Because he'd cook Thanksgiving, Christmas. He was always around. And my dad said, no, I'm the smartest one because I'm not getting involved in that kitchen. I want to get out of it. So anyway, and then many more. And they're all beautiful. And that's the thing that I want to speak about as a person. I still cannot believe the amount of love he gives. It's infinite. As a person, as a father, Marguerite, he is so proud of you. We all are proud of you. But your dad was very proud of you, and so are we. And I just want to let you know that I'll take it. Thank you very much, Mother, for doing warm.
Take a tissue for your issue.
Thank you. And I just wanted to end up by saying, as an individual, as a person, it's very hard to find another person like that in this world. Because one of the comments in my household with my father was, my father would always be in envy. He wants a busker in his subway. That's what his life is, to sing in a subway. That's where he wants to go. And my dad would say, damn, that doesn't sound that bad. You know what I'm saying? But why? I don't have that courage. You know, I don't have that passion. I don't have that love. And I could only say that your dad is the most important person other than my father in my life. And I do miss him. So I'm going to let everybody know it's an amazing person who's leaving us. But we have to remember him who he is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll give you your music back. There you go. Thank you for those heartfelt words. Who would like to come next? Come on up. Hang on one second. Let me just put this
Surprised I
down.
was tall enough for this.
There you go.
Can I tell you something? Most of the time, I didn't really see him much. Like, I only saw him once a week, and you saw him even less than me, but I know some people who see him every day. I know some people who can interact with him in the closest ways and the furthest ways, like all the way from California on a tape, and we can still communicate through that with him too. Some people even communicated with him through their phone and their computer and their whatever. But I know especially I would communicate with him when I was 3. Still, I couldn't reach to give him a really good hug. I couldn't really get up there and give him a hug. So I would always run up to him and hug him. My head was at knee level. It was very fun running around, seeing so many things at that age. And I love the memories I made with him. He was a really fun, joyful guy. And you know what? He wasn't perfect. He made a lot of mistakes. And no offense, but those mistakes were part of what made him him. And I really love that. Of course, I see my parents tearing up about a ball all over the room and caused a flood. Shout out to you guys. Also, for all the people that are watching at home, you can listen to this again, okay? You're going to want to rewind this part. And you know what? There's no difference between him and God. No difference at all. Also, the day before he passed is the day that I found out it was death-stakingly bad and he may not make it out. That was the day I found out, and the next morning I got the news. And I feel like God was waiting for everyone to know. So I feel like if I could have waited a little longer for me to know, he would have lasted a little longer. I feel like I'm the reason that he had to go so fast. You're interrupting my speech. Come on, shut up. Anyways, he was a kind man, and I really missed that. And I feel like if he was here and it was someone else's funeral, he would be clapping and laughing after I finish this speech, so that's what I'm going to do now. Thank you.
From the mouth of babes, as they say. And she, Fiona, you have honored Pop very well today. All the things you said before everybody got here about him. She pretty much said that the reason he loved trees so much are because, trees are our souls. And he was such a good one. And he was strong and resilient. That's why you got the pin, exactly. But you're the one who gave me stuff that I've never heard about. And I'm going to use it. And I'm going to give credit to Fiona. Beautiful job. Thank you. Who else would like to come? I know, that's a hard one to follow. Yes, come on up, young lady.
Hi, all. I'm Doreen. My husband, Kevin, and Jim were partners in a business, the Power Place in Atlanta. What I loved about Jim, he was so multifaceted. Like, I was going to Biloxi once, and I wanted to play the tables. I'd never done it before. I said, Jim, what do I do? What do I do? We couldn't get together. On the way to the airport, on the telephone, Jim's giving me the rules of how to play blackjack. I hit the table with $20. 2 hours later, my fortune went up, it went down. I left with $20 playing Jim's rules. One of my favorite stories about Jim, it's really my husband's story, but I tell it better. As I said, they were partners at the Power Place, and one day my father-in-law, lovely guy, came to visit. And my father-in-law was a famous pilferer. He couldn't walk by a bowl of freebies without grabbing. His jacket pockets were filled with candies from, different restaurants around town. Anyway, as he was leaving the Power Place, he reached down and grabbed some pens off the table. And Kevin went ballistic. Dad, those are Power Place pens. We need those pens. My father-in-law said, oh, okay, we put it down. And he started walking out the door. And surreptitiously, Jim reaches behind him, grabs a bunch of pens, walks my father-in-law to the door, puts his arm around him, puts the pens in Joe's shirt pocket, and says, Joe, good to see you. Kevin was outfoxed by a master. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dear Hannah, please accept our apologies for not being with you in person to share our condolences in Jim's celebration of life. My Jim has some issues and is scheduled for surgery, but this letter comes to you with our love, Pandora. A tribute to Jim. I believe my Uncle Jim followed the 10 Commandments and that he lived his life trying to please God through his words and his deeds. He loved his wonderful wife, Hannah, his amazing daughter, Marguerite, his brothers and sisters, his friends and family, and he treated all, and that is underlined, people with respect and kindness, even though some did not deserve either. Jim McQuire was a force for good in a world where evil shows up all too often. His parents and brothers and sisters adored him. In spite of their spoiling him as a child, he turned out to be a man of exceptional character with a heart of gold. Like everybody else, his journey through life had many blessings and, of course, some bumps that would only build his character. Through it all, he was of good spirits, grateful, and he always seemed to be more concerned with other people's comfort and welfare than his own. If I told him about something wonderful that happened to me, he enjoyed hearing it as much as if it happened to him. Your joy and happiness was 100% his, too. His singing and songwriting were special gifts. He loved to dance and to tell funny stories that made him laugh so hard while he was telling them he could barely get to the punchline. I heard him sing a fantastic song he composed called Love This Moment. It was played in a 1992 Christmas video made by his nephew, Carlos Salgado. Uncle Jim really should have been a member of the Kingston Trio, who were his friends when he was young, and they were new on the music scene. He entertained family and friends with his guitar and singing, but he also shared his special musical talents with people in nursing homes who could really use having their spirits uplifted. His voice had a smile to it that made it seem as if there were no problems anywhere in the world. John 14:2-6. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. These are the words of Jesus in the Bible. Just think about the place he would have prepared for Uncle Jim. It has a tennis court for Uncle Jim and Uncle Harry to play tennis daily, just like they did when they lived in Puerto Rico. It will have a card room with several tables set up for poker and bridge parties. There will be a theater with perfect acoustics for musicals and a baby grand piano like his mother had that he enjoyed playing. There will be a ballroom where he can dance with his many friends and family, and, of course, a well-equipped kitchen, including a wine refrigerator, where he will be busy preparing delicious meals for everybody while enjoying a glass or two of great wine. It is hard for those of us who loved him to let go of such a beautiful and kind soul. My comfort is knowing Jesus received him, and that he is now reunited with his beloved parents, big sister Elodie, and his two big brothers, Courtlandt and Harry. God bless you, Uncle Jim, and thank you for the joy and happiness you carried in you that was a gift to others.
God bless you.
Again, with love from Pandora. Let's give her a big round of applause too, please. Is there anybody else who would like to come forward before our final speaker? I see a thought, maybe. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Raul, but Jim always calls me Papu. And so the people that really love me, that's how they address you. It's a term of endearment. I see a Impressionist painting, and I know it's an Impressionist painting because of Jim. When I was going to go to Berlin, he said, "Oh, you get to visit all the great museums in Europe, and you get to see the Impressionists." And I said, "The who?" And I said, "The Impressionists," and I thought it was people making fun of things. And so I says, "No, when you get over there, just look up these three names, Degas, Gauguin, and Cezanne." And so through that, I learned a lot. And that's just one example of Jim's gift. He had many for me. I'm ill-prepared to talk tonight. I just was thinking about honoring him, though, and so rather than preparing and what I was going to say, I just decided to have a conversation with him. and share it with you all. So I want to say, Jim, I know you're here, and you will be here and with us for as long as we remember you. And I've been getting this. Unfortunately, I've been attending several of these gatherings of late, too many. But you pick up things, and that's one of the things that I picked up lately, that we honor our people, our loved ones, and they remain alive as long as they remain in our memory, and that's how we keep them alive. But Jim, so I want to thank you for meeting my sister in Puerto Rico, because that's how I got to meet you, and that's how I got to have my one and only niece, Marguerite. I also rode in that green beast, but it was more like a boat. It wasn't right. It was more like floating along Condado Boulevard on Saturday afternoons with our rackets. Jim taught me how to play tennis. Jim and I used to run around Laguna Condado on Saturdays, and after that I left. And we have, most of us live very complex lives, and we come into contact with people and we form alliances. And I was talking to my sister earlier today about a tree and the root of a tree and how it spreads its branches. And these branches just keep growing, and I see the results of that in this room here. And so anyway, I just wanted to thank you for that. Thank you for that car. I loved it. And, years later, Jim, my father had retired, and he was kind of lost. He kind of didn't have anything to do. And Jim gave him employment in his later years. And Dad really didn't do much, but he was very happy, and Jim made him feel very important at the office. And it gave him a purpose. And after that, I remember my father just kind of lighting up, and he was proud, and he was always looking at, I'm going to be late for work. And he was always there. And Jim was also along our family at my mother's bedside when she passed. And I remember him initiating the song Grace. I remember when my mom passed away. And so I just wanted to thank you, Jim, and thank you for introducing me to the McQuires and all this wonderful family, and Hannah, and your family as well. And it just keeps growing, these branches of a tree. So for that, I am deeply grateful, and thank you, Jim.
Your words truly show grace, so thank you. Anyone else before our final speaker?
Let's just ride in the horizons, okay?
Come on.
Hi, I'm Elodie Salgado, and my mother is Gail, who is Jim's, the last remaining sister of the 5 McQuires. All my life I heard about the 5 McQuires, I have an older sister and 3 older brothers, and they're all gone, and my mother was supposed to go before Jim. They were supposed to go in order. And in a way, one of the things I'm saddest about today is that my mother really, she has dementia, and she really, has already gone in many ways. So I tried to get her to say something about her brother. What did she remember? And she said Jim was good looking, and you saw his word about the looks, and amusing, and he gave very good advice, which I sometimes took. And so she still has a sense of humor in there sometimes, and You know, it's those little moments that make you hang on. But it's just what everybody else said, is that it's the branches that the love that he was my favorite uncle. Then for a little while, then Courtlandt was my favorite uncle, and then but you know, he gave a special kind of love that just stays with you, and it's true that everybody in this room he gave to me, and most importantly he gave us Marguerite, so you know, with a little help, and for that I'll always be grateful, and I strive to be the kind of family member and friend that he was, with an open heart, caring heart, always with an ear to listen. And that's what I hope to do. Thank you.
I'm going to ask the man who gave a little help to create our most famous speaker tonight, Chris, to come forward and share with us some words.
You go, Daddy.
Whew, okay.
I'll give you the tissues.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Hollander. And on behalf of Hannah and Amy and Marguerite, thank you so much for coming to beautiful, sunny Flemington, New Jersey, to celebrate the life of Jim. I'm known to some of you as Hannah's favorite son. And I've been lucky enough to have been friends with Jim for almost 20 years. And as I sit here thinking about it, that's half my life and a quarter of his. There's so much amazing life that he had before I ever met him. So I feel very blessed to have been a part of the time that he had here. When I first met Jim, we both had less gray hair than we do now. And he introduced himself, and I asked him what he did. And he told me that he loved to sing, cook, enjoy a nice bottle of wine, and was absolutely head over heels in love with Hannah. Most people would have said I'm a lawyer, or I'm a teacher, or a lifeguard at a turtle sanctuary, or I run a company that sells power supplies to hospitals. But that's not who Jim was. In the years since then, so much about my life had changed. The people around me changed, my work changed, but one thing that never changed was Jim. He knew exactly who he was then, and was true to that every single day of his life. He was, as I would come to learn, a love warrior, as he named himself. Jim cherished and was always loyal to his lifelong friends. He was a gentleman, he was always honest, and he always had a story. Whether it was driving his fancy car over the 59th Street Bridge and possibly getting pulled over, the clam bake that went wrong at McGinnis's at McGuire's restaurant on Fire Island. I always loved how he laughed with his whole body. When he really started, the arms would go up and the leg would start stomping and you'd get an actual knee slapper out of him. Almost 10 years ago, he was one of the first people in the world to meet my daughter, his granddaughter Fiona. He loved holding her when she was a baby and playing music for her and with her as soon as she was old enough to reach the keys on the piano in the living room. He was always enthralled by the things that she would bring back from her adventures in the backyard, mostly pine cones, sometimes frogs.
Bottle caps. Lots of bottle caps.
And bottle caps, yes. And truly enjoyed all the time that they got to spend together here in New Jersey. He wore his pop-pop hat with such pride. And he always loved telling us about the other pop-pops that he would find. They would say, hey, I'm a pop-pop too. To his last days, he was able to find awe and excitement and happiness from the simplest things, like holding a baby chick for the first time. Afterwards, he said, I'd never done that before. And he enjoyed new things. We went to a dude ranch, and he got covered in mud going off-roading in an ATV. And again, he said, I can't believe we did this. We visited glaciers. We hugged monkeys and sloths in a jungle in the Caribbean. One time after visiting Auntie Gail in the Hamptons, we went out to the lighthouse and then drove all the way to the other tip in Long Island City. And he loved that he went the entire length of Long Island. We took selfies on both sides. 13 years ago, Jim played guitar and sang with my mom on the 4th of July, the year before she passed. Over the last few months, we started a new tradition where he would come to our house almost every weekend, and we would go out for walks together. We would go walks around the neighborhood, and we would talk. We talked about how amazing the solar eclipse was going to be, and then afterwards, how not amazing it actually was.
The whole world didn't go black, okay?
Yeah. We talked about cooking and current events and parenting and our New Jersey lives. Him and I would always trade. I think we competed for the worst joke. We would always trade corny jokes. And one of his favorite jokes is the classic joke about the Buddhist monk and the hot dog vendor. Countless times, I was lucky enough to be the hot dog vendor in that story. Everyone that knows me knows that, like Jim, I also love to cook, and we both love grilling. And every chance he had, he would ask me for a hot dog in the style of the Buddhist monk in the classic joke. He would say, "Make me one with everything." Pop, that joke will forever be yours now. You are now and always will be one with everything. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much. She's getting in tune, which you all need to do now. I, too, am a professional singer. Well, professional shower singer by myself with nobody wanting to hear me.
Yes, thank you.
But we are going to bring Jim into this moment, and we are going to ask you to open to that inside page with the song, and that is Jim's handwriting, Love This Moment. 1993 was a time of a lot of changes. Coming out of the 80s into the 90s, it was a revolution like it was in the 60s. There was so many changes like Jim experienced of that love generation. So I don't know what he was inspired by to write this song, but as a child of the late 80s and 90s, I can only see the heart which with this was written. So in a moment, I'm going to press play on this TV behind me. It's going to jump right in. There is no intro to this clip. It jumps right in. And it was Marguerite's wish that all of us sing this together. So whether you are a professional shower singer like myself,
Yes.
or a master like Raul, we're going to have you sing as loud as you can, remembering that this is done with love for our brother Jim.
In the city's wounded heart neath a cold cathedral form stands a lonely street musician slicing sunlight to keep him warm. He plays his pulsing song of praise and puts it in the wind to fly on high and please God's ear, give him strength again. Singing, please love this moment to every passerby. Hey, we'll journey up that needle's thread and through that needle's eye, where a sweet, gentle city waits and sparkling fragrant there. Everybody now, please, please, please love this moment. We will soon be there. He sees them filling city streets, searching in the dark. He sees them when they're searching that needle's eye. Where a sweet, gentle city waits in sparkling, fragrant air. Everybody now please, please, please love this whole land. We will soon be there. He hopes and prays that one day his love song will come true. Hey, men and women will love this moment too. Until that day he's on his way to that promised place he's bound, singing his song of praise with his hat on the ground. He's singing, please love this moment to every passerby. The journey up that needle's thread and through that needle's eye, where a sweet, gentle city waits in sparkling, fragrant air. Everybody now please, please, please love this moment, and we will soon be there. I said, please, please love this moment, and we'll all be
I can pass out tissues for everyone if they want. What do you want, Daddy? Here.
I'm going to ask you to join hands with the person next to you in prayer. Heavenly Father, you abide with us through the ups and the downs, through the soft and the hard. You prepare a place for us to go when the light truly does shine. We ask that your blessings be upon your servant James and all those who were fortunate enough to be touched by his grace, by his heart, and by his hand. Heavenly Father, we ask that you allow all of us the ability to understand that your ways aren't our ways, but that if we approach life with a little more faith, with a lot more hope, and we ground ourselves in love, we can make this world the place that you tried to make it through your child Jim, who now sits at your right hand in that place where there is no pain, no suffering, but only light, only peace, and only hope. Heavenly Father, until we're reunited with all those who've gone before, allow us to pray daily for your strength and your wisdom. And let our prayer together now be the one that you gave your disciples, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Again, on behalf of the family, our heartfelt thanks to all of you who are present with us and are with us virtually for your outpouring of love and support. It's my hope and prayer that you remember to keep Jim's name the household word that it always was. These five folks in the front, they want to hear you talk about him. Don't think you're helping by not bringing him up because you don't want to get them upset. Guess what? They're thinking about him. They want to talk about him. I don't know if any of you could belly laugh like he did, but you can try. Please talk about him. Please share the memories of the card games so long ago. Share the love, and Jim will never be gone. Again, a very sincere thank you to all of you. Travel safe, and of course, God bless.